Yo, what's up, Capricorn moon signs? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tano Merkaba, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about Capricorn moon through the 12 astrological houses of life. Sun. So in my previous video, I was just talking about Capricorn moon basics. You know, Capricorn moon people probably didn't have a very good childhood. Oh, the childhood was very much based on restrictions and they didn't get to experience some shit that other kids may have experienced. You know, they may not have a TV, they may have like grown up doing domestic work rather than like chilling and watching watching Mickey Mouse, you know, things like that, you know. Just explaining like the basic archetype of what Capricorn is and Saturn and what Saturn does to people's lives. And just like talking about like what this is basically the basic archetype of Capricorn moon. Sorry. So before you check this out, check out my previous video or check it out after this video. Let's get straight into it. So Capricorn moon in the first house, right? So what is the first house? The first house is your persona, your personal life, how you personally look, your face, you know, your skin maybe, you know, your motherfucking body type, you know, just things that are personal to you, people, places, and things that are personal to you, you know, how you take, like, how you first enter life, and then it's like, okay, it's hitting you, so how are you personally taking that, you know? It's basically kind of like the lenses that you look at life through, whereas the moon would be how you feel about the world, you know, and then the sun would be how you act in the world. So the sun is how you act in the world, the moon is how you absorb the world, and then your rising sign or your first house would be the glasses in which you view the world in, right? So if you have Capricorn in the first house conjuncting your moon sign, then you are somebody that is, see, Saturn is in the first house too, so it's going to restrict your personality, and it's going to restrict your personal life, basically. So you may not be someone who's and because the moon is here, so this is already kind of frustrating, because not only do you take things personally, right, but you may not maybe show someone that you did take something personally. So I feel like this makes you a lot more sensitive as a Capricorn rising with the Capricorn moon also. So this makes, depending, and hopefully you have like a Pisces sun that makes you a lot more understanding and a lot more, I don't know, what's the word, like a lot more, I don't give a fuck, you know. So maybe even like an Aquarius, right? Aquarius sun sign, you know? But yeah, for the most part, I feel like this makes you a lot more sensitive as an as a Capricorn sun, a Capricorn rising and a Capricorn moon, you know? And because, see, if most likely because you have a Capricorn rising, you have Aries in your fourth house, right? So in your fourth house, but we'll get there. See, I was about to explain the entire thing of a Capricorn rising in the second house and third house and fourth house. But for the most part, because you are a Capricorn rising, your fourth house is Aries. So you may have been very expressive and like a lot more aggressive in your home. Or maybe you had like expressive, aggressive people and selfish people in your home. Or very passionate people. So because you have your rising conjuncting your moon sign, you also, because you take things personally, also you also maybe, you may brood a lot. First of all, you may brood a lot, and then start being to yourself again. Because I also feel like with a Capricorn rising conjuncting your moon sign, because you're already closed off, and because Saturn is already there and putting restrictions in how you feel and compartmentalizing and structuring your emotions, you also may structure your personal life, right? Because your moon is doing exactly what your first house is doing. So it's how it's filtering itself in your moon is like reacting to everything in your personal life. So your moon sign is like, you know what I'm saying, your moon sign is reacting to everything that's personal in your life, with that shit being in your first house, right? And already both of these things are having restrictions, so you're already putting restrictions on. So I feel like it could also be a thing of you put restrictions on things you take personally, because also, so you either may take things personally, or you have restrictions on things that you do take personally. So you may be the type of person that's like, you may not have like too many friends with this also, you know, or you may also just be the type of person where like even just the way you dress, you know, just the way you carry yourself, it's always it's always kind of like to protect your emotions, because it is in your first house. Your emotions are in your first house, so everything that's being received is taken personally, or there's like always a boundary to not take things personally. So you overcompensate with that by structuring your emotions in a way to decide what you should take personally. So I feel like you with this placement, you like somebody that kind of knows how to differentiate between what someone said that was directed at you, and then what someone just said because they were talking shit, or because they were like a fire or air sign, that type of thing, and they always like to talk and run their mouth, that type of thing, you know. I feel like you have a very good distinction with what to take personally and what not to take personally, because of Saturn. I feel like that's the one good thing about having this, is that you can differentiate, you know. But for the most part, it makes you even more dry, because if it was a fire sign, let's say if it was like Aries rising and Aries moon, it's very difficult for you to even hide how you feel, because it's going to be expressed in your first house, right? So it's like you wearing your heart on your sleeves if you have this Aries kind of placement. But because Capricorn is here and it's restrictive, you may not be able to, and even if you do, people may not really see it as you wearing your heart on your sleeve or on your personal, like your face, just because of Saturn making that restriction for you. You know what I'm saying? So you may even be the most emotional person ever, but you may not be perceived to be that type of way because of Saturn's restriction on your personal life. And if it's conjuncting your mood, which is your emotions, then it's already like putting restrictions on the emotions you show. So you also may learn how to do that, you know? You just know how to put restrictions on like the emotions that you show. And then when you with people that you can trust, then they kind of somewhat see this, like they know, maybe even by the change of tone, the change of the lack of conversation that you're giving, they know, okay, now you need some space, that type of thing, you know. So that's cool. I feel like that's dope. And then if you have your Taurus moon in the second house, most likely you have a Sagittarius rising with this. So second house is already exalted in the moon, because this is the home of Taurus, and second house is the house of values, things that you value, you know, things that you possess, things that you have, you know. It's the house of I have. So everything that you have, you possess, and you value that shit, because Venus is home here, as well as its home as in the 7th house, which is the house of Libra, and then exalted in the 12th house, which is the house of Pisces. So for the most part, your moon sign is exalted in the second house, right? So this obviously changes the dynamic of the home that you may have grown up in, because even though Capricorn is debilitated here, it's exalted in where it's debilitated at, because the second house is an area of life. So this area of life is the area of things that you value and things that you possess. So you can value your possessions, right? And because it's in the moon, your possessions are your emotions, right? But because your emotions are restrictive, right, you may value your own privacy. So you may with the moon being in the second house, like I said, it's the house of I have. So already how this translates in the moon is I have emotions, right? So your emotions somewhat now become a thing. And just because like Earth, like I say, Earth, in my previous video I said, wherever you have Earth in your planets, if you have a Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn zodiac sign in any of your planets, it's gonna practicalize it and make it like tangible and real, right? So your emotions in the second house being in Capricorn also makes your emotions very real. So you somebody that, like I say, you value, you may even have you may have had a terrible childhood or whatever, but you value the structure that it taught you. You can value the experiences that it taught you. You can also value the fact that you don't want to be poor. You value that feeling. You value that you don't ever want to be poor. So you work on that, right? You build structure, you gain structure on that so that you never have to be poor. Where's my ruler now? Yeah, so you value and like I also feel like this makes you a stingy Taurus. I mean a stingy Capricorn moon person. I see that. Like I feel like you can be very, very stingy with this. Like very stingy. You may be type of person cuz see you literally see everything like cuz you know it's a double earth emphasis here and it's an exaltation thing. So not only do you value your emotions cuz your emotions are you. So you may value yourself, right? So you may be very stingy with yourself. So you may be the type of person that you give off the oh you're too good for people, that type of energy and you only like to hang out with people that have some kind of status that you feel like you should be at also, you know? And to you it could also be a thing of so I'm gonna sit down guys. You know I always do this in all my videos. After I make the first video I'm like, oh it's time to sit down. I would not be a good flight attendant at all. I really wouldn't. I would suck. I'd be so tired all the time. Okay, anyway. Okay, cool. So with this, I feel like it makes you very stingy. Because to you, you may be the type of person to think, if someone is asking me for something now, and I give it to them, which you might give it to them the first time, you know, if they show concern, like, yo, I really need it. You might give it to them. But to you, it'll be like, if it's not one of those situations, you'll be like, oh my God, this person is asking me for this now, so they probably might ask it, they might ask again tomorrow in 2 weeks, and then they'll start depending on me. And that's like, oh no, because then you start thinking about yourself like, oh my God, now this person's gonna depend on me, and I'm also here trying to like, you know, make sure I'm good, you know, that type of thing. So I feel like that's I don't know. I mean, you can decide if that's a bad thing. I'm just here to provide this shit for you. And I've seen this happen. I've seen this happen because my friend, the Scorpio girl, has this. She's very stingy, you know. And it could also be a thing where, like, let's say you have like a pack of cigarettes or something, and it's like a full pack of cigarettes, right? You may give people maybe one, like a pack of cigarettes has like 20 cigarettes in them, right? So and it's fresh, it's new. So you may be around your friends and you may like let's say you with 3 of your friends and then there's you, so there's 4 of you. So everybody has their own cigarette, you know? But you won't be like because now you have you have 16 cigarettes left. So now that you have 16 cigarettes left, you start thinking, okay, I need each cigarette for each day. And if I give one cigarette to a person, then I'm not going to have enough cigarettes for myself. You know? So you start also valuing your own comfortability. That's the thing with Taurus moon in the second house. You start valuing your own comfortability. So this is what makes you stingy, because also you have that restriction of you're gonna get bound, like you're gonna push out a boundary to people to let them know like, nah, that was a one-time thing. Don't think I'm gonna be giving it to you, you know? Don't think I'm gonna be constantly being your source of like, don't think I'm gonna constantly feed your addiction like that. I'm trying to feed my own addiction. That's you know, that type of thing, you know? Yeah, so it could be that type of thing. But I feel like if, like I said, it depends on your sun sign, because you may have like a Pisces sun sign, which is makes you a lot more giving. Or not Libra. No. Nope. Maybe a Taurus sun sign, yes. Maybe a Gemini sun sign, not a Cancer sun sign, no. Maybe, yeah, probably a Leo sun. A Virgo sun may talk too much about why you keep asking them. They might be like, what the fuck, why you keep asking me for shit like that, you know? Like I said, not a Libra, not a Scorpio, and maybe a Sagittarius. Maybe an Aquarius. Maybe an Aquarius sun sign. Maybe. But yeah, Pisces sun sign for sure. Yeah. But for the most part, like I said, y'all very stingy. Y'all could be very stingy with this shit. But I feel like, you know, to a great deal, because it is really important to think about yourself. But it's also important to think, if you're stingy now, you may need someone later. You know, you may not have something later. And you may meet someone, and that someone may have an abundance of that, and they'll remember the time that you didn't give them something, you know. So just think about that, like. And I'm pretty sure you, as a Capricorn moon sign, you already in the second house. You're already thinking, yo, I can never put myself in a position where I need someone, because that, I feel like that's also like a scary thought to think, like needing someone, or thinking that someone would ever be in a higher position than you. You know, I feel like that could be very, very scary for you guys. But just think about it, because you never know what's gonna happen in the future. As much as you like to know shit, as much as you like to have like a not a reference point, but as much as you like to know what's up, you never know. So just be a lot more giving. Be a lot more giving. I understand. Like, I really understand. It's very important to think about yourself. But sometimes you can share. Fuck, share. How? Anyway, let's move on to the third house. So the third house is the house of your familiarities, things that anything that you're familiar with, right? Like your room, your house, your neighborhood, your friends, languages, your school, you know, anything you're familiar with. That rules the Gemini house, right? And it's also an air house. It's a thinking house, right? So if you have your Capricorn moon in the third house, I know Jaden Smith has this placement, right? And I'm just gonna go off of just analyzing Jaden Smith. I feel like this makes you someone, you talk a lot about your feelings. I mean, like, you talk a lot about some shit that makes sense. That's the one thing, right? Or it could also be a thing where you live in a neighborhood, or you live around people that somewhat take themselves very seriously, or you are this person that takes yourself very seriously. But then again, he has a Cancer sun sign and a Scorpio rising, so that modifies it differently. But like I said, everything honestly all depends on your motherfucking sun and your rising and aspects and a whole bunch of other things, you know. But just for the most part, like, having a Capricorn moon in your third house makes you someone that is very talkative. I feel like you probably still are reserved, but you're a lot more talkative than maybe someone who has their moon in the first house, you know, or even the second house, you know. It could be very funny with this too, because I mean, Jim Carrey he has a Capricorn sun, Gemini moon, and he's real funny. Not to say it's the same, but it somewhat shares energy. It just shares energy, you know, a little bit. Gangani, guys, for all of you guys who are in America, Gangani is Zulu, and it means small, or like a little bit, or small amounts. So yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it makes you a lot more talkative, but I feel like the things that you think about, and you think real fast too, because Mercury's home in the third house. So you may think so it's similar to having like a Capricorn Mercury, you know, where it's like all your thoughts, even though your thoughts are um yes, they're restrictive, and because Earth makes Mercury kind of slow down unless it's in Virgo, because it's home in Virgo, and Capricorn because there's Saturn and it's like so heavy and shit. It can kind of stumble. So okay, on one part you could either have a stutter, you could be someone that stutters, you know. But this is the area of life that you're living in your emotions. So emotionally, you like to, or you could be a thing of where you lived in a neighborhood that you were familiar with, but there was always like, your parents always put like restrictions and boundaries on where you could go, what time you were supposed to come back, and when you could go. Like, maybe you had the type of parents where you could only go out every month end, or you could only go out if it was your birthday, and you could only like go out with your friends if it was your birthday, shit like that, you know. But for the most, it could also be a thing where you were restricted with things that you were familiar with, right? So maybe you also maybe didn't go to like a formal school. You may have been homeschooled. So yeah, you may have had restrictions in your familiarities. Because I'm also thinking Jaden Smith didn't go to a public school like that. I'm pretty sure he was homeschooled. Not to say I'm basing this particular aspect to Jaden Smith, but I feel like he's a good reference, you know. Yeah, I feel like you may have been homeschooled also, or you may have been in a private school, so you don't really like your familiarity awareness in terms of your third house may have been very restricted and very much narrowed down to, you only know people from church, your home, from the home school that you go to, or maybe from the school that you go to, but you never really kind of expand in getting to know the rest of your surroundings, or the rest of, you know, your family, like the surroundings, of the familiarity of the surroundings, that type of thing, you know what I'm saying. You may have also been, you may have been like, see, I feel like you may have been the type of person that, like, your parents kind of disciplined you to think in specific ways. Like, you know, some parents like are like, no, you know, we can say what we want, just be free in expressing yourself, like, just express yourself however you want to and however you feel like you need to. So you may have been the type of person that, like, were restricted in that, so you could only, you see, okay, in South African cultures, like Zulu, like the Zulu people, the Zulus, Xhosas, is like, you know, like the whole bunch of things, you know, there's like specific procedures to how you speak to older people. There's like specific procedures to how you speak to, like, how you speak in different events, you know, those types of things, you know. So I feel like you as a Capricorn moon person, you may have grown up learning these specific ways on how to, because you, I mean, okay, I'll give another example, you know, with even like Asian cultures, you know, like, you, I don't know, I don't think you're supposed to look at men in the eye when you talk to them if you're a woman, or I don't know, you know, there's just different traditions and there's different restrictions to how you should communicate with people. So I feel like it could be that same thing with a Capricorn moon person, where as you grew up you had restrictions on how to communicate with people in a way that maybe you wanted to, and then maybe you grew up maybe also having stutter, or just having speech problems or something like that. And then, like, as you grow up, Saturn is gonna take that restriction off of you, because Saturn be doing that. What the fuck? There's a whole there's a thing crawling on my window. Anyway, yeah, Saturn could have done that. Saturn could have, I mean, yeah, Saturn's gonna do that. Saturn, like, I feel like at a specific age, Saturn's gonna uplift its boundary on you, and then you learn how to communicate a lot more freely. But also, I feel like you also, maybe you would like to build, or maybe you the type of person that would like to build a business within your familiarities, or within the place that you grew up, you know, the place that you're familiar with, that type of thing, you know. And then if you have your Capricorn moon in the fourth house, see, the fourth house is the house of Cancer, right? So I feel like with this, you are a Libra rising, no doubt, no cap. You're a Libra rising if you have Capricorn moon in the fourth house, or if you have a Capricorn fourth house, you know. And then if you have a Capricorn moon if you have your Capricorn moon in the fourth house, the moon is home in the fourth house, but it's still debilitated, or not debilitated, but it's, well, yeah, not a, yeah, it's debilitated. It is debilitated in the fourth house. Well, in Capricorn, it's home in the fourth house, but it's debilitated in Capricorn. So this also somewhat changes the narrative. So you may have grown up in a very nurturing home, but I feel like with this, someone probably died, or someone who was the one that was providing nurture died. Fuck. Go. Okay, I handled it. It's gone now. Sorry, I had to. Anyway, so yeah, so you may have had someone that was like that. You may have had like a provider. You may have had a very nurturing, because the fourth house is about nurture, domestic shit. You know, how, like, the theme of how you grew up, your childhood, somewhat. You see, your third house also rules their childhood, but it rules it in a way of, like, things that you learned, you know, because Gemini is about the learning process, but the fourth house is more so about the nurturing part of it. Like, you know, when you go home after playing with your friends, what happened? Like, what kind of food, like, what kind of home did you get into? You know, what kind of food were you eating? What kind of bed, like, how big was the house? How small was the house? What were the struggles? You know, shit like that. Who was cleaning? Who was fetching you from school? Who was taking you to school? Who was giving you lunch money? Who was giving you lunch? You know, that's the fourth house, basically. So now, with your moon in the fourth house, you may have gotten all of those nurturing things, but because Saturn was there, you may have lost, either your family members died, so the provider died, which changed your entire narrative of your life, which changed you forever, or I don't know, maybe like you had to move away, but you still, like, I feel like this is a lot better to have than like having a Capricorn moon in any of the other houses except the 5th house. Yeah, except the 5th house, because the 5th house is the house of fun, but we'll get there after this one. So you may have had, like, like I said, you may have like a somewhat nurturing parent, or maybe your grandmother, you know? Like you maybe grew up with your grandmother and she was very, very nurturing to you, and then she died when she was like a specific age, when you were a specific age. But you still like hung on to that nurture that she gave you. But it still hurt because it's like, damn, bro, like really Saturn, you just had to take her away or him away. Maybe it was your grandfather. I don't know. Maybe it was your father. Maybe it was your older brother, you know. It may not be that specific example that I just gave out. It really could have been anything. But for the most part, if you have your Capricorn moon in the 4th house, you somewhat did gain some kind of nurturing. And even if it was, oh, maybe you got tough love at home. Because I feel like this is also that type of shit. You just got tough love, you know? Like maybe you had parents, but they didn't treat you the way like a soccer mom would treat their child, you know? But at least you like you had parents, that type of thing, you know. Could have been that type of thing. Yeah, so you may have just gotten like real tough love. So that's and see, with having this placement, it makes you even more private. So I feel like this for sure, you probably don't have many friends. Like I said, it does depend on that sun sign, that rising. Well, if you have you have a Libra rising. So having a Libra rising does make you somewhat social. So maybe you have like a whole bunch of acquaintances, but you don't have like a real friend that you can tell all your dramas to. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it also depends on your Venus, your Mars, your rising. But for the most part, having this in your 4th house is already going to make you a very private person. So you maybe like, yeah, you probably, but I really feel like you don't have many friends here. Oh my god, that was literally for the 3rd house. Maybe, yeah. I actually forgot to add, but I don't know if people are gonna like watch up until, because people be selfish and they only want to watch their own house. But if you are watching, continuing, I feel like with having your Mercury in the 3rd house, you are somebody that had like restrictions and friends. So you probably didn't have many friends, you know, because the 3rd house is the house of friends and shit like that. So you probably didn't have many friends, you know, because Saturn put that restriction in. So yeah, that's what I mentioned. That's what I forgot to say. But then in your 4th house, also it's gonna put a restriction in your family house too. So maybe you didn't really have many family members, or you had too many, so there was like a restriction on resources and money, you know. Yeah. That's Capricorn in the 4th house. And then if you have Capricorn moon in your 5th house, shout out to you. But also, because 5th house is your entertainment. It's things that feel good. Not so much how you got nurtured, just it's the see, this is the Leo house, so it's like the expressing the feelings of goodness, you know. So 5th house, like I said, is like the house of expressing yourself, how you have fun, how you have fun and enjoy yourself, entertainment, things you like to be entertained by, what you like to entertain, you know. You may like to be entertained by watching TV, and you like to entertain other people by being funny or whatever, you know. So that's basically the 5th house, you know. Like, so just think of anything that you like to do, like anything that brings you joy, because it's how you express yourself. That's the 5th house, right? So if you have a Capricorn moon here, you have boundaries and restrictions on things that you enjoy, right? So you may have been a child that didn't grow up with TV. You may have been a child that, but see, like regardless of the restrictions that Saturn gives, you always, because it's the area of life that you are experiencing the Saturn kind of energy, I feel like you always are someone that's, I feel like this makes you a lot more expressive as a Capricorn moon. Actually, no, I'm capping. No. See, because the moon sign isn't really what people see unless they get close to you and they start experiencing this shit from you. Because I have a fucking Gemini moon in my 5th house, and I know, like, because I have my sun in the 8th house and I'm an Aquarius rising. So maybe at first I'll be talkative, and then when you start getting to know my actions, like, I'm a lot more reserved, and it takes a long time for me to show that 5th house energy. So it could be the same for you, and I'm pretty sure it takes you even more longer to show your 5th house energy, you know. because you also, maybe you may put restrictions on when to do it. So like I said, you're gonna put structure on when to be an entertaining person, you know. Oh, but people, you like, see that fifth house energy, people can feel that for me. So you may also gravitate people into your life, you know, or you may gravitate people that are funny, you know, but maybe you may restrict yourself from enjoying specific pleasures in life because you may be all work. Also, depending on your, also you also maybe you may like to like work on your creativity, so you may not be as very expressive, but you like to work on it. So you may be someone that like plays the guitar and you like to build structure on that because you want to gain cash from that creativity, because fifth house rules creativity along with the second house and the 12th house, you know. So you may like to build on that creativity and make it like condense it down into practical matters, you know. So you may be the type of Capricorn moon person in the fifth house. You may so you may have grown up in a musical family, or maybe like a family with this cool artist or whatever. Or maybe, yeah, okay, maybe you grew up with like an artist and you like that art, because you know artists be broke sometimes. So maybe that's the restriction, like maybe that's the not so nice life that you grew up in, because there was not enough money for you guys, because your parent was an artist and you know they didn't really get much cash. So maybe you grew up with that talent, or with a different talent, or different like creative ability, and then you were like, okay, this is where they went wrong, this is where they went wrong, I need to now move in these ways and make these money moves so I can gain money from my creativity, but not flop how my parental figure flopped, or how, you know, the person who raised me flopped, that type of thing, you know. It can be that type of thing. But for the most part, yeah, I feel like it might also just like put a boundary and restriction on how you express yourself. You know, having Capricorn here in the fifth house, you may not, like, you may be you may have dry humor, basically. You know, you may be like, definitely you love art, you know, like you also may like working. I feel like you entertain by working. But like I say, you may be working on some creative shit. And even if it's not creative shit, like let's say you work a 9 to 5, you're saving money so that you can get your guitar, so that you can start building on your creative shit, you know, your creative abilities. But there's always gonna be like a restriction. And you might have to work a bit harder than somebody else in terms of your creativity, because it might take you a lot longer for you to like blow up, but for good reasons, because Saturn is trying to teach you some shit. And I know like people say that all the time, and I'm an Aquarius rising, so my chart really is Saturn, and I'd be like, what the fuck, bro? Just like, why Saturn, why I just want to know, like, why would you do that? Like, why? Because I see all my friends doing dope shit and they're blowing up, and it's gonna take me like a whole 10 years. What? But apparently, see, I'm 20 years old, so I don't know yet. I'll just wait until I'm 30, guys. We're going to be waiting together. So apparently, you know, when Saturn returns, you know, Saturn comes with its gifts. And so if you're older than me and if you're like in your 30s and you're watching me, which is shout out to you, mad love to you, and you've already experienced your Saturn return, like, please tell me what it's like, what happens. Like, because I only know this in theory, you know, but tell me what happens, like, what changed and what got better, you know. Like, let's say you were working since you were 18 or something, you've been working since 29, now you're 34 or something. Tell me, please drop a comment, tell me what's up, like what happened in your life, what's changed. I'd love to know, you know. I'd love to know that. Not even if you have like your Capricorn moon in the 5th house, I just want to know what's up. But yeah, so I feel like Saturn just like puts a restriction on your creative abilities, you know. So you also may like, okay, the innate thing in you is that you have creativity, so maybe you don't really know you have creativity until you get like a bit older, or until you watch one movie and you're like, wait, I'm sure I can do that, and you start playing piano, you start playing the guitar, you know what I'm saying, whatever. And then if you have a Capricorn moon in the 6th house, most likely you are Leo rising. So you're really expressive, right? Personally. And then when people get to know you, they get to know that you're actually like so reserved and you have so much structure. And it's like, what? You winner. The one that was busy peppering, the one that was busy being forward. Now you have all this energy. Now you're very reserved. Wow. But yeah, for the most part, this also adds a double emphasis on the earth energy because sixth house is ruled by Virgo, which is home in, well, which is ruled by Mercury also. But sixth house is basically everything that you do every day. It's the daily routines, things that you have on schedules, you know. It's the schedules that you have. So sixth house rules your schedules. It rules your it rules things like your habits also, because you know, if you do something every day on a daily basis, that's going to become a habit, you know. Yeah, so that's the sixth house. That's the sixth house. It also rules your health, you know, how you like, not how you construct your health, but like eventually, obviously, if you do something every day, it's gonna affect your physical body. Like if you smoke every day, it's gonna affect your body. If you drink water every day, it's gonna affect your body. If you drink every day, it's gonna affect your body. If you jog every day, it's gonna affect your body. You see, so shit that you do every day, that's sixth house vibe. So if you have Capricorn here and Saturn here, it's gonna put a lot of restrictions on your health. Or maybe you may wanna. I feel like this also makes you someone that you probably don't have friends, because what makes you feel comfortable is having a routine, right? Because also sixth house rules your job, and obviously job is something that you go to more often. So I feel like with this makes you somewhat a person that's somewhat like all work no play, you know, and the only time you play is if you at work. You know what I'm saying? Because you're always chasing that bag, because that's what makes you feel comfortable. So I also feel like with this, you may always have had working parents. You know, you have like working parents, but they taught you the value of working hard and being consistent and persistent in your job or whatever it is that you're working at. Or maybe you taught yourself this because the like how you grew up, there was no structure, you know, people were just like coming to steal, or I don't know, there was just like no structure in your house. So you built that, or you have that in yourself to be like, yo, I need to work on my shit every day, make sure I stack up cash so I can start this new business venture that I have in mind. But yeah, for the most part, like I feel like you put your Capricorn energy to use every day. And in terms of your health, you may be someone that's like, see, I'm trying to think, like, because if Saturn does like put boundaries and restrictions, and if it's in the sixth house, and it's probably putting boundaries and restrictions on your health. Um, so maybe you could have been someone who was very chubby, or you still very chubby, and no matter what you do, Saturn is putting that restriction for you not to lose weight. Because I also find that Leo rising sign people are very thick. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be thick as hell, chubby faces. So you also maybe have a chubby body. Because I also feel Capricorn can be chubby because it's opposite to Cancer. So y'all could have some chubs, you know. So you may have like so you may be the type of person, like, no matter what you do, no matter what you eat, you know, it's very difficult for you to lose weight, you know, or maybe difficult for you to gain weight also, because Saturn is putting that restriction there. And then maybe when you turn 30 and have your Saturn return, then it changes for you, you know. So yeah, that's that for the sixth house. But for the most part, very like work orientated. I feel like this also makes you super bossy, like even more bossy than you would if you had, like, you know, Capricorn moon in the fifth house. But you know, for the most part, Capricorn makes you bossy anyway. Um, excuse me. Um, yeah. Yeah. So if you have Capricorn in your seventh house, chances are you are a Cancer rising. Now, having Capricorn in your seventh house, right? Seventh house is your relationships, how you relate to people on a one-on-one basis, not with a group of friends, but when it's just you and one person, and you guys, maybe even two people. Because in my other videos, I've just been saying one person, but it really it's all about how you relate yourself to other people. So then you kind of lose the sense of self, and then you merge into the we do this, we are like this, you know. So that's why Libras is just difficult to ground themselves, even not maybe not ground themselves. I'll say, yeah, it's difficult for them to ground themselves and make a decision that this is where they want to be at forever, because there's just so many options to weigh, because there's just there's so many possibilities in the world. Oh my God. There's so many possibilities in the world. But yeah, if you have a Capricorn sun moon sign in the 7th house, you are somebody. Okay, I explained 7th. So wait, 7th house is also about relationships, right? Because obviously, when you relate to people, you gain a relationship with them because you've related your own life to their lives and you've merged in that way. Not emotionally merged, but you've merged like mentally. So, if you have this placement, child, you are somebody that likes to build on relationships, and you may use relationships as a crutch to. So you may use a specific relationship, or you may get into relationships because you know these people can somewhat take you somewhere, because it's somewhat because the 7th house is exalted in Saturn, right? And this is kind of like it shares energy because Saturn rules Capricorn, 7th house vibes, you know. So you may like on the positive part is that you may also attract because the moon is how we attract things. So you may attract people that can get you from point A to point B. But it could also be a thing where in your childhood you may have grown up when your mom had like a lot of boyfriends that were like douchebags. So you just witnessed your mom dating a whole bunch of people or your dad dating a whole bunch of people, you know? And then you kind of understand the importance of relationships, you know, so you like I say, you build it may not even be a thing where you're using people because it can be that, you know, anything has any that you can use any energy to use people. But I feel like with this particular energy it's a lot easier because of Saturn and the 7th house. So you may build on one end, you build relationships, like you know how to stably build relationships practically. So let's say you want to be friends with someone, you'll think of a practical thing to come to them, to present to them, and then, you know, kind of find middle ground on how you can orchestrate the conversation so that both of you got like so that that person knows that you're like making the effort to build a relationship. So for example, let's say I'm a Capricorn moon person in the 7th house and I like this person, whether romantically or like friendship wise, and like I won't just be an air, like I said, it does depend if you have like an air sun sign or air rising. But let's say I have like an air sun and rising, right? I won't just go up to someone without having thinking, like without having practicalized what I'm going to say to that person. So you as a Capricorn moon person in the 7th house, if you want a relationship with someone, you always kind of like you may peep game for a while, just see what they're into, and then see if you have any common like things that you share in common, you know. And then let's say I'm a Capricorn moon person in the 7th house and I want to speak to this person, either romantically or friendship wise. I first peep, okay, oh my god, we're both into astrology, so I'll approach you with that. So I'll be like, oh, yo, dude, I'm a Capricorn moon person in 7th house. So I'll be like, yo, dude, I've seen that you're into astrology. I am too. And then see, now we're building on a relationship. So then me as a Capricorn moon person, I'll be like, you know, you should come over because I have tarot cards and I feel like you'd really like them. See, boom, now we're bonding out of something that's like physical. So we can both physically touch it tangibly, you know, shit like that. So it's not more so like air signs where they can talk about anything and then like dip the conversation and like just forget your name after, you know. Capricorn moon person in the 7th house usually will gain relationships with people that they want to be like. Those people would have to have something that the Capricorn moon person was like, you know what, I'd love to have you on my team or in my life, or you know, shit like that, you know. But yeah, for the most part I feel like it's very like you also may have like you understand the importance of relationships in businesses, and I feel like you also know how to like gain common ground in these relationships with people. um yeah, you're just very good with relating, so you also may attract a lot of like relationships too. But I feel like you may be someone that's always you date your high school sweetheart or your college sweetheart, your university sweetheart, you know, and you guys build a business together in your relationship. I feel like this is like that, you know, Kanye West and Kim Kardashian, even though they broke up, but they had a brand together, just being in that relationship, you know. So you may like that type of thing. And then if you have your Capricorn moon in the 4th house, I know Willow Smith has this shit. I mean, in the 8th house. So the 8th house is the house of secrets, death, inheritance, you know, merging your resources with somebody else's resources, in terms of like, oh, you have you have a car, well, I have money for gas, so let's merge that shit and do some shit together. So already this is forming like a sextile kind of thing, because the 8th house and the 10th house do sextile each other. So I feel like with this, and because Saturn is the thing of restriction, I feel like you build like, and building, right? So obviously this whole Saturn thing is gonna work differently with different houses. So you may build more on having a wall, because see, the 8th house is the 8th house is just like things that we do behind closed doors, things that we like. If you masturbate, you're not gonna go out and tell people about it. I mean, you might, but you won't really tell people about that. See, the 8th house also rules your genitals, so like we always wear panties and pants and shit like that. Like there's always something covering your genitals. And there's a reason to that, because it's 8th house shit, it's like dark and not really meant for the sun. It's not meant for people to see, just generally, that's the 8th house. So if you have Capricorn here, you're already building on putting more walls up into your secret. So I feel like this makes you even more very private. Like very, very, very private. You don't talk about nothing unless it's about business. And then all your secrets. And see, I feel like with this, you probably definitely grew up in an abusive home. See, okay, Willow Smith, I don't really know Willow Smith like that. But just based on like, her life being out there for people, like her parents and shit like that, it may be really frustrating. And remember, I know in one interview she was like, she saw her parents fucking one time. So you see shit like that. So maybe that was a lot more, okay, not to invalidate her experience, to say that maybe that was like a lighter version of the 8th house Capricorn, but it could be a lot more intense. Like, you may have grown up just like, you may have been raped with, oh my god, you may have been raped with this, so then you just build on more ways to have like a wall around you, because like the area of life that your moon is in, because the moon also, like the moon falls in Scorpio and then it's away in Capricorn, you know what I'm saying? So the energies aren't really, they're not so much nurturing like that. So you may have been a stripper with this, or a sex worker, more love to the sex workers. You just may have grown up and sex was like, it was very much pronounced or enunciated very loudly with this kind of placement, I feel. We may have siblings that were watching porn, and you're just around like a lot of disgusting men or disgusting women that were just disgusting. So you learn to build more restrictions on your emotion. And it takes people fucking 20 years, 20, 30 years, a lifetime to gain your trust. Because I feel like your childhood may have, you may have grown up and people were stealing from your home or shit like, I don't know. There was just like a whole bunch of secrecy in your home, So that basically just taught you to build more walls to cover your life. Yes, you are emotional. Very emotional. I feel like this makes you even more sensitive. So it may have been a thing where like the only pleasure that you had experienced was when you were getting money and when you were fucking. So you may have broken your virginity a lot earlier. Like 12, 11, 10, 9. If you were raped, or maybe you were raped and then you discovered that this was the only way to like gain pleasure or shit like that, But for the most part, yeah, you just gain more walls with this kind of placement. And then it takes you a lot. See, with this, like, it's easy for you to peep game when people are trying to, like, pull a doozy on you. Like, people trying to manipulate you or shit like that. But then it also kind of, like, it kind of makes you somewhat isolated from the outside world. Because you could self-isolate yourself and then be one of those people that don't know how to, like, communicate with people. You don't know how to talk to people, like, casually. You know how Geminis or Libras or Aquarius can just, like, come up with a conversation out of nowhere, and then it's like, huh. Or a Leo, Sagittarius, Aries, and just, like, talk shit. And it's like, oh, Or, I don't know, any other sign could just somewhat know how to contribute to a conversation. But for you, it's a lot more difficult because you may always think there's like some kind of people are always trying to ask you questions because they're trying to get to know you a lot more, and it may be scary for people to even get to know you because of all the things that you've gone through. So you may keep all those things like shoved down in the bottom of your stomach, and you just don't want anyone to know that you go through that because of that 10th house in the moon, and you only want people to know you for what you want to present to people. So you just want people to only see you the way that you want. So you want to control how people see you somewhat. I feel like this also makes you a lot more controlling because you also may want to control how someone gives love and affection to you. Like you may have like a whole routine and structure, and it may be very. You may want to psychologically also control them because that 8th house also does rule psychology and shit like that. So you may want to psychologically control how people act around you. Or control your boyfriend and girlfriend or girlfriend and like control how they show love to you or shit like that. Especially if you have the moon conjuncting Venus in the 8th house in Capricorn. Oh my god. Oh, in Jupiter. Oh my god. If you have Jupiter, Capricorn and Jupiter in the 8th house conjuncting your moon in Capricorn in the 8th house. It's done, Sana. It's done. I'm actually like, this is the one placement where I say you probably don't have many friends. I don't care even if your sun is in Gemini and it's in the 3rd house or the 5th house. Maybe if you have your sun in the 5th house in Leo, maybe this would make, okay, no, not in Leo, because that can't happen. No. Let's say your sun is in the 5th house and whatever. If it's in the 5th house. I think you'd have Libra in the 5th house if you have Capricorn in the 8th house. I think so. But still, I feel like this makes you hella reserved. Like, fuck that. You just hella reserved. You don't trust nobody. You're just always suspicious of people. But for the most part, you can also be very giving in relationships. Like, on the more positive side, can be very giving. Very soft and sensual and like cute and like roses and petals and walks and hacking, ice skating, shit like that. You just like simple shit. You may be someone that doesn't really like. You probably wouldn't be someone that like goes on the internet to talk about shit like astrology wise. You probably keep that all internalized. I feel like you'd be like Joe from You, only like you wouldn't be a serial killer. You could be, but like if you weren't a serial killer, you just want a simple life, librarian. Not too many people know you. Not too many people like, not too many people know you. I feel like that's something that you would peep. Unless you Willow Smith, then like you just. But if you know what, we're not even gonna start talking about Willow Smith. But you guys get the point. And then if you have your if you have your Capricorn moon in the 9th house, which is the house of Sagittarius, then so 9th house is houses of experiences, and whenever you experience something you gain wisdom, which also is something that falls on the 9th house. So it rules religion, spirituality, just expanding your experiences basically. So if you go travel somewhere, you're experiencing shit there, and that's giving you a broader perspective of life, but not like broad 11th house. It's more so broad spirituality, or like internalizing things and kind of gaining wisdom, and that wisdom being, how do I say this, like Jupiter and like kind of wisdom. So not like knowledge like Mercury or like Saturn, Aquarius kind of knowledge where it's like networking, but it's more so like wisdom about like the higher being. Like, oh my god, I went to Japan one day and I just realized like, we're all experiencing life differently, but we're all human, that type of shit. So if you have Capricorn here, Capricorn is definitely going to restrict those experiences. So you only may be the type of person that's only grown up in your neighborhood, and you may really have this deep desire to travel. So you probably travel when you sleep, probably dream about traveling. So you probably save mad cash and work your ass off because, you know what I'm saying, you're trying to like travel one day, but Saturn isn't allowing you to travel. And even if you do travel, it's like something always happens, like your flight gets delayed, the car tire bursts, you don't have enough money, something always happens that puts a restriction on your traveling. And then you start learning, oh my god, I have to like plan. So you start planning your trips a lot thoroughly. So I feel like this, you see, Capricorn falls in the ninth, maybe not the ninth house. It just falls in Jupiter, but Jupiter's home in the ninth house. So technically it kind of shares energies, you know, where it's like, because the ninth house is like somewhat expansive, and if Saturn is here, it's restricting that expansion, you know. So it's like having Capricorn and Jupiter, Loki. So yeah, it's like you don't really like, you have so much. So instead of like just going out and experiencing shit, you have to somewhat plan and organize how you're gonna do it, you know, have a blueprint on where you're gonna go, what you're gonna do, that type of thing, which is a good thing. Because I also feel like you as a Capricorn moon person, you like reliability, you like knowing that, oh, there's a structure, there's a plan that we can follow, rather than just like being spontaneous. Because Capricorn energy is not spontaneous energy. That belongs to the air signs and the fire signs, and sometimes Scorpio, and sometimes Pisces, and sometimes Virgo. Yeah, you know. So I feel like that's also a thing. But for the most part, I feel like you innately do like to travel. Or maybe you're maybe you type of person, like whenever you do eventually daydream or whatever, you have uh like you always want to, like, okay, for the most part, wherever Earth is, like I said, it's gonna materialize that shit. So oh no, that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking that, like, if Saturn restricts things, let's say you do have like daydreams and shit, you also make it like, you may restrict yourself from, like, you know, going too far in La La Land or in the imagination world, because you be like, nah, there's no use in thinking or dreaming like this, because like if we can't actually do it physically, then why should I even think about it? Why waste my thinking brain when I can think about something else that could get me cash, so I can actually book a flight, so I can actually go somewhere. You know. Yeah, that's that, bro. That's that. Yeah, but for the most part, just Saturn is like, it's gonna restrict your traveling. So you may only travel later on in life, and you may like watching movies and seeing people travel, like seeing different places. You may Google different places, you know. But there's always gonna be a restriction for you to travel overseas. Oh, and also because it rules higher education, like schoolings and shit like that. You may have been restricted. So you may have been the type of person where you could, like, your parents. Okay, so your parents may have, oh, like, been very religious or very spiritual people, and you were only restricted to only entertain yourself in things that like participated in religion or that spirituality. So you could only listen to gospel music and only have friends that were from church and only marry the guy from church, you know. So you were restricted in terms of like where you were to be, like where you could experience that type of thing, you know. So you may be restricted in that type of way. Yeah. So you also may like live your life like this, but eventually, if, like, when you get older, you may decide that, nah, fuck this. I'm gonna save up and just go. You know. And then if you have your Capricorn moon in the 10th house, see, with this, status is everything for you. Like, you probably get mad when, like, let's say, you see, if you like me and you post funny videos on Instagram, you would probably get mad if one of the videos that you post don't get as many views or likes or follows as you had initially organized yourself to. So that you may be really, really hard on yourself for not accomplishing specific goals that you set yourself to accomplish. And I forgot to mention, but I did, in my 10th house is basically the house of Capricorn. It's your status, what you're known for, your come on, word, come on, your reputation. Your reputation. That's 10th house. It's your reputation. I had to like sprinkle some fucking remembering powder, bruh, because I be forgetting words sometimes. But yeah, you take your reputation, right? So if you have a Capricorn moon in the 10th house, it makes that shit more emphasized. And I wouldn't be surprised, because I dated a girl who had a Taurus moon in the 10th house though. Her house, like, her room was very simple. She had white sheets. Her shoes, she had like maybe 10 pairs of shoes. She's not nothing complicated. I feel like this also makes you someone that doesn't like complications. Like I feel like with this, you're also very much cutthroat. You get straight to the point. You're like, fuck the bullshit. Don't over explain. Don't beat around the bush. Just tell me as it is. I'll take it as it is, you know? Let me decide how I want to take it. So I feel like, yeah, as I was explaining, she had like white sheets. She had a closet was just black, white, gray. Maybe I'd find like one yellow, one red, one, you know, but even it was like really faded anyway, you know. She didn't have, see, I have a whole bunch of, I have like, my room is just a whole bunch of things in my room. And when she came to my house, she was like, "Oh my god, this is so like there's so much, there's so much, you know." But this one makes me feel comfortable, you know. So I feel like also with you maybe I feel like this is the like a minimalist kind of person where you like you like to save. So for you, it would be like a thing of why spend so much money on getting books, on buying all these shoes, buying, you know, different kinds of things for my room, when I can save that money and motherfucking get something constructive. Because to you, it's like, I only really need this amount of shoes. I only need this amount of, you know. So you may have that kind of mentality. So you restrict yourself on like how you like, okay, this is already like, yo, I want to get to your childhood, but basically you just restrict yourself in a whole bunch of things because you're very practical in the things that you need. So you may not necessarily get things that you want because you'll spend money on, like, you know, food. If you're a guy, you're probably one of those guys that are like, I only date girls who are natural, because you may be stingy to the fact that you don't want to help them pay for like their nails, their hair, their makeup, you know. Or you may just never date anyone because you may think, oh my god, I have to spend my hard-earned money on somebody else. Fuck no. Men and women, you know, non-binaries, everybody in between. You may just think, oh hell no, you know. Oh, you also maybe, I feel like with this, you also maybe someone, like, you also may be really stingy, like someone with their moon in the second house in Capricorn, where, like, you may have something, but just for the sake of self-preservation, you may not give it to people, you know. You may not really, like, fuck around, like, share your resources with somebody else, because you be thinking about yourself, because Capricorn is exalted in Mars, and Mars is the selfish planet, you know, because it rules Aries and Scorpio, and they be selfish too. But yeah, I feel like that's that with that. But if you do give someone something, it's, you always give them a job so that they can work with you or work for you. So you would rather give someone an opportunity to gain money for themselves rather than you giving them money, you know? Because I mean, and that's like a good point. That's like a good point, you know? Because it's like, yeah, they can gain structure for themselves and they don't have to rely on you. So you're helping them, you know, fix their own life up. So like, high five to that. You know, but for the most part, like, you can be very hard on your friends, especially when your friends need nurture. Because I feel like with this, you were probably very much adopted, and your adoptive family, like, did not give no fucks about you, or you just had parents that were like all about business, or you just didn't have parents, you know. So you relied on like work to give you nurture. So like, what makes you happy is knowing that you have a reputation. What makes you feel comfortable is having a reputation. What makes you feel comfortable is getting respect. What makes you feel, you see, what makes a Cancer moon person, maybe in the 4th house, feel comfortable is being at home with their mom. But I also feel like Capricorns also very much have a connection with their mother. But I was just giving the example, like a Cancer moon may feel comfortable at home, you know, with like that good food, and, you know, they may not really care about their reputation as long as like their domestic environment is like dope. You as a Capricorn moon, that's opposite from you. Like, what makes you feel comfortable is knowing that you have a job, is knowing that you have like, you know, cash in the bank, is knowing that you have like people that respect you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you care about 10th house shit. That's what makes you feel comfortable. Is 10th house shit, you know what I'm saying? So I also feel like this makes you very serious about yourself. So like, you wear simple clothes, you know what I'm saying? You wear simple black, white, nothing too flashy, nothing that's gonna get people's attention, because I'm pretty sure you don't want people's attention, because at the back of your head you're like, yo, I don't want to entertain things that I don't have to entertain. You know, like I feel like with this, you're very, very structured with your life. Like you can organize the shit out of your life, out of everybody else's life. You could be the fucking president of like Mars, and you'd know how to like orchestrate Mars or Mercury or any other planet. Like you would just go there and already know what you should. Okay, but not really already know, because at first you'd have to analyze how or like what's been done first, and then you'd see what's wrong, and then you'd want to take over, and then you know like do what you think is right or what's better. You know, that type of thing. And then if you have your Capricorn moon in the 11th house, I feel like this makes you I think a Pisces rising. No, a Taurus. Yeah, you are Pisces rising with this. You're Pisces rising. So 11th house is your associates. People, places, and things that you're associated with, right? But it also rules the unfamiliarities, things that you don't know about. Like, I'm in South Africa. I've been in South Africa my whole life. What's unfamiliar to me is like basically the whole world. I've never been to America. I've never been to Europe. I've never been to Australia. So that those places are unfamiliar to me, right? And obviously there's people there. So once I do get familiar with those places, then I can start networking, right? Because that's the 11th house. It's the unfamiliar, but once you go to those places, you start becoming familiar. Then you start jumping into your 3rd house, right? Then you start networking. Then you start using your 3rd and your 7th and your 11th house. That's how those vibes. So with this, I feel like because hey, Saturn rules both the 10th house and the 11th house. So I feel like it kind of works okay here. So let me think about this. I feel like your Capricorn moon in the 11th house of the unfamiliar, you already have. Okay, I think with this, you kind of know the thin line between having acquaintances and between having friends. First of all. Secondly is, with this, you probably grew up in the streets. You were probably someone who gained a lot of knowledge from being in the streets. Like, not to say that you were homeless, even though you may have been homeless. But even if you weren't, you were someone that were probably, like, you were out in the streets, you know, getting well acquainted with different people, feeling comfortable with those acquaintances, because maybe at home there was, like, some issues, some ego-driven, narcissistic kind of issues at home. Or there wasn't anything that you thought you could do at home, so you probably took to the streets. Your homies showed you some shit, you know. And then you learned a lot from the streets, right? And you felt comfortable in the streets because you were like, damn, I'm learning so much. Then you'd start networking, and then the people that you start meeting put you on, or sometimes, you know, they betray you. Then you learn, oh wow, okay, people like that are whack as fuck. They betray you, they users, right? But usually people put you on. You'll know how to you'll network with the right people, and then you'll know, because you know there's always the cool kids. So you, as a Capricorn moon person in the 11th house, you'll probably become well acquainted with the cool kids so that they can also put you on, you know, like that pedestal. And then you usually start like networking with other cool kids, you know, and then you're like, okay, boom, perfect time to host an event. Host an event, get all the cool kids to come participate, fuck around, get cash, make more acquaintances. But like I said, you know the difference between your friends and your acquaintances, or people that are just like, you know, there for the business, or that are gonna help you get your money, that type of thing, you know. But you take control. Like, I feel like you know how to kind of work a crowd with this also. But this makes you even more emotionless, because the 11th house is the house of like Aquarius, you know what I'm saying? So 10th house and 11th house people, y'all be cold. Hopefully you have like a water sign or a fucking like Leo, not Aries. Oh, see how Aries. Oh, jeez, you probably rude as fuck with us. Thinking of bad baby, but maybe not, because Aries are really funny people. Aries are really, but you may be really selfish. It's gonna rain again. Yo, I can't wait to smoke weed after it rains. Well, during the rain. Comment down if you smoke weed when it rains. And then comment down, like, if you are a Capricorn sun, Capricorn moon, who experiences this. Because, like I said, guys, I'm 20 years old. I'm just going off of matching things together, but also off of experiencing people play out their own shit, Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so okay, lastly, before I dip, if you have your Capricorn moon sign in the 12th house, right? So the 12th house is the house of sleep, your unconscious self, dreams, your creativity, your illusions, you know what I'm saying? Hallucinations could also be 12th house shit. But I can talk on this for sure because I'm Aquarius rising and I have Capricorn in my 12th house, but I don't have a moon in Capricorn, obviously, like I said. But for the most part, how you see now, your dreams can be very real to you. Like, and I know this because whenever you go to sleep, it's as though, like, you're very much physically conscious. It feels like it feels like, you know how I am right now. I'm awake right now. I'm speaking to this camera. In a dream, it literally feels the exact same. Like, your dreams are practicalized. So your dreams kind of feel very real. And if you're fucking in a dream, it feels like it feels real. If you're eating, it feels real. You're drinking water, it feels real. You're running, you're looking, it literally feels real. Like how you are in your subconscious, when you're dreaming is basically somewhat how you are in the waking, this kind of life, the life that we're in right now because you're watching me. That type of thing. It literally feels real. So you may be the type of person who likes to it may be sometimes difficult to differentiate because this is the world you're living in. Sometimes it's difficult to differentiate what was real or what you were dreaming about, because it may be a thing of you were dreaming about your friend saying fuck you, and then you just get mad at your friend, but not on some like water sign shit, because I feel like it may be the same for water signs, but for water signs it's really about the feeling and how they felt in their dreams. But with Capricorn here, it may be a thing of like you really thought, like, you may have, like, in your dream your friend may have said fuck you or whatever they said, and then you come up to your friend like, don't you remember the time you said fuck me? And then they're like, what? I didn't say that. And you're like, are you serious? I really remember you saying that shit to me. And then they're like, nah, fam. Like, nah, fam, you got that shit twisted, dude. Could be those types of things. I know I have that shit, dude. It's weird as fuck. But it's cool, though. Because I also feel like you know how to take your dreams and, like, condense them into 3D reality. Like, you could, like, okay, first of all, you can remember your dreams really well, but I also feel like you like to work on your dreams, and you like to, like I say, take your dreams and like make them real. So you know how to, like, it's like you are the bridge between the ethereal Pisces realm and this realm, and you know how to like put them kind of together. Especially, like, I feel like you are an Aquarius rising with this, so you're already a weirdo, and I feel like this makes you a lot more compassionate also. And you may lose, like, whenever you go out in places and like hang out with your friends, you may, like, this makes you also not empathic, but like you be picking up on feelings, and it's kind of difficult to differentiate if what you're feeling is, if it came out of you, or if it was like, if someone was just hugging you and then you just picked up on their subconscious feelings that they don't let out. It could be very overwhelming, especially if you have a Capricorn stellium. If you have a Capricorn sun, moon, and Mercury maybe in the 12th house, then it's going to be quite difficult for you to, I feel like this makes you, like, you would probably isolate yourself a lot. And maybe not isolate, but like you don't really like going out much, because it's just so overwhelming to have to pick up on all those emotions and subconscious feelings of people, and then, like, because it's real to you, because like your feelings are going to be real to you, like I said, so I also feel like with this, you grew up in a family that, like, that maybe put you under many illusions, or maybe that they could have, and then you maybe have helped yourself. Okay, wait, it could have been a thing where, because you grew up in a hectic situation, then you started like dissociating, and you learned how to kind of create an internal world for yourself, and then you make that shit real. So you start designing your room the way you feel. You know, you may get fairy lights like I do. I fucking love fairy lights. You know, you may like design your room in a very fairy kind of dreamy kind of way, you know, because like I said, you're gonna make your dreams real, period, you know. But also it depends on your 12th house lord, which is a whole different thing. And I'm just thinking, oh my god, astrology is fucking endless. If I'm gonna do all of these things, I'm just thinking that like it's gonna take me fucking 3 whole years, maybe 30 years to finish everything. And even then there'll still be more to talk about. That's so overwhelming. But yeah, guys, that's my video on Capricorn moon through the houses. I hope you loved this video because I like making this and I love Capricorns. I fuck with Capricorn energy so hard. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.